Hey guys, welcome back to Sparkman Homestead. My name is Krista and I have some fun stuff. I always have fun stuff to do with you guys, but today I am coming back to finish a couple of projects that I had kind of anticipated on doing a while ago. If you watched my last video, you've seen that I had some chickens that were cooking and I said I was going to come back and can those with you guys. Unfortunately, yesterday was an absolute, well, not unfortunately for me, but yesterday was an absolute beautiful day outside, so I decided to spend the day outside in my garden getting my lettuce in the ground. So I unfortunately did not come back and turn the camera on to show you guys how I was canning the chicken. Now I do have a video that I actually show you guys how I do my canning of the chicken, and I'll just leave it linked wherever it gets linked. I don't know what corner it goes in, but I will leave that for you guys. So if you are interested in seeing how I can my chicken up, that's the video to watch. So right now I have some chicken broth in my pressure canner, just starting to come to pressure. I'm gonna pressure can that for about 25 minutes. But today, the projects that I actually wanna get done, I realized that I don't have any more of my hot chocolate mix left. I absolutely love that hot chocolate mix as like a snack at night sometimes. Instead of me having like a big dessert, I'll just make a small cup of hot chocolate and just kind of have that to satisfy my sweet tooth. So I need to get some of that made up. I know it's weird going into summer, but I still enjoy hot chocolate anytime. And then the other thing, I made pancakes the other day and I realized that my pancake mix was getting low. So I want to make up a couple batches with you guys and show you how I make my pre-made pancake mix. It's very comparable to that kind of mix that you buy in the blue bag. You know, I'm not going to say the brand name because I actually don't even know the brand name of it, but it's very comparable to the pre-made pancake mix. So we're gonna get that made up, finish up with the chicken broth, and the other fun thing we're gonna do today is I'm finally going to can that cranberry juice. I have a 5-pound bag of frozen cranberries in the freezer that I would like to get removed out of the freezer and put on my shelf because we enjoy the cranberry juice. So those are the projects that we have today. I wanted to show you guys this right here. I kind of failed on that with you guys. This is my apple scrap vinegar. It's not really apple cider vinegar, it's an apple scrap vinegar. So I just took the apple scraps and put them into a gallon-sized jar with some sugar and water, and I'm just letting it sit here. It's going to sit there for probably at least a couple of weeks until it gets nice and foamy. Once it starts getting good and active, then I will just strain out the scraps and then let it sit again for another 4 weeks, and then I have vinegar. On my Instagram page, I actually showed a step-by-step of how I was getting that apple scraps all done. I don't know if I can get it back because I did it in my stories on my Instagram. I tend to be more active in my Instagram stories than actually posting anything. So if you are interested in kind of following along more with my day-to-day life, because I do post quite a bit on my stories over on that platform. And it's just at Sparkman Homestead over on Instagram. What I'm gonna do right now is we are gonna restock our hot chocolate mix. I know it seems weird doing this going into summer, but like I said, sometimes at night I like to have a little sweet treat, and if I don't feel like making anything, then I like to just kind of make myself a little glass of hot chocolate, and it definitely satisfies my sweet tooth because it is a sweet thing. It's not low sugar by any means. So I'm probably gonna end up doubling this recipe, potentially even tripling it, because this is the jar that I stored in. It's a fairly large jar, so it usually fits. I think we'll triple it. So we'll ×3 the recipe. I will leave the recipe below for you guys in the description. So if you want to give this a try, you will have the measurements there. So what we're gonna do is we are going to add 3 cups of powdered cocoa. So the recipe only calls for 1 cup. So if you're only making 1 batch, just put in 1 cup. You know what? I think we'll just actually double it right now because I don't think I have a big enough bowl to do it ×3. So we'll just add 2 cups of powdered cocoa. And then we need to add 2 2 cups of powdered sugar or confectioner's sugar, or as I call it, icing sugar. So we're gonna add 4 cups of that. Okay, and we're gonna switch out to a bigger bowl because I did not plan accordingly and I do not have a big enough bowl. And then we need to add 2.5 cups of powdered creamer or powdered milk. So I am going to be using this stuff. I don't know if Azure has a powdered creamer. I've not seen what they most likely do, but this is just what I use in this recipe. I'm sure you can substitute it and use a low-fat milk powder also. This is just the one that I like. So I'm going to be adding 5 cups. Okay, and then we need to add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. I'm going to be using arrowroot, so I'm going to add 4 tablespoons. And then 1 teaspoon of salt. We'll put in 2 teaspoons. One thing that I like to do with this hot cocoa mix, because my icing sugar and powdered milk is a little clumpy, I like to run it through my sifter and it kind of gets all of those big clumps out. It makes for a smoother mix. As you can see, I don't know if you can see, but there's quite a bit of clumps in there. So that is exactly why I do this. Guys, I shouldn't even have doubled this recipe. It makes a lot. I couldn't remember how much one recipe made. So now we're gonna have hot cocoa for a while. I guess this will be nice out having a campfire in the summer, having a glass of hot chocolate. And then the last thing I like to add is some of these dehydrated mini marshmallows. These are the ones that I pick up at the Amish bulk salvage store, but I don't know if you could probably order these on Amazon. So I just like to kind of stir a little bit of these in. I absolutely love this jar. I found it at an estate sale a long time ago. Floral top to it and the design on it is so beautiful. Oh, we'll just stir this other leftover stuff in. There we go, all filled up for the pantry. So the rest of this I'm just going to put in a sealed jar and put it in my overstock pantry so that when this runs low, I will have more just to restock this with. I just took the chicken broth off of the stovetop, so it is now coming down from pressure. The other thing that I have done is over here I have my water bath canner and I have some quart-sized jars in here just kind of getting sterilized a little bit. I took my 5-pound bag of cranberries out of the freezer. We don't necessarily need to have hot jars because we are, actually we do, that's a lie. We do need hot jars because we are adding boiling water to the jars. So I'm gonna get those jars hot and then we will make the cranberry juice. But let's get started on this pancake mix. So I keep my pancake mix in here. I have shown you this on other videos, and what I have taped to the front of it is just the directions on what I need to make the actual mix. So I will leave this recipe linked below for you guys because it is from a blog that I know of, so I will leave that linked for you guys. And it is super easy to make, and when you want to have quick pancakes one morning, just grab this stuff and it is literally just add 2-3 ingredients and you're good to go. The other day with this mix, I actually made a lemon poppy seed pancake and it was delicious. So I just used this mix and then I just added some lemon juice and some poppy seeds to it. Turned out great. Okay, so we're not gonna double this recipe. I'm not making that mistake again. So, oh, the other thing I wanna grab. Just gonna grab a sieve, and that way when we are pouring it in, I can just kind of sift it. It saves me from having to use another bowl. So to this bowl, we're gonna add 4 cups of all-purpose flour. And then we're gonna add 3 tablespoons of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and then 3 tablespoons of sugar. I'm just using a organic evaporated cane juice here. Just stir it up. Now, I bet you because I said that I wasn't gonna double the batch, I'm gonna need to double it. It's always the way it works. Yeah, I'm gonna need to double it. So one thing that I have found with this recipe, the ratios for cooking it, it says to use 1 cup of pancake mix. I like my pancake batter to be on the thicker side and not the runnier side. And what I find is when I follow these recipes to the T, I get a really, really runny batter, and I don't like that. So what I end up doing is actually adding a little bit more of the dry mix to the actual ingredients. So it says to use 1 cup of this mix. I usually go like a cup and maybe like 2 or 3 extra tablespoons on top of it. So just keep that in mind when you're making this. I'm just gonna fill this container up, and then what we'll do is we'll make a second batch because this is only gonna fill it halfway up. And I like to have this on hand for very quick breakfasts, and sometimes I even like to have pancakes for supper. So now we are going to get the cranberry juice started. There is a recipe in this book for canning cranberry juice. It's just a more lengthy, there's more steps involved with it. The way that I'm doing it is how I normally do it, and it is super, super easy to do. Same results. Well, kind of same results, but I like to do it this way. It's easier and it tastes really good, and I can kind of control the sugar a little bit better. So we have the frozen 5-pound bag of cranberries. Now, the Ball canning book also says you can use fresh or frozen, so I am not deviating from that. I'm not doing anything that's potentially dangerous. But again, as I say in pretty much all of my canning videos, please do your own research, and please make sure that you are comfortable doing what you are doing in your home. This is what I am comfortable with in my home, so please make sure that you are doing your own research and doing what you deem to be safe. We are water bath canning this, and it's going to be water bath canned for 25 minutes. I'm just gonna get these jars out of here. So I can only fit 7 quart jars in my water bath canner, so that's all I have out right now. I'm probably gonna have to do a couple of batches. And over here on my other stovetop, you can't really see it, but I have a pot of water getting warm. You want to use warm water for this because we are using frozen cranberries. When I was opening the box from Azure, I accidentally ripped a huge gash in the side of the bag, so I have it taped up right now, so I'm trying to be very careful with it. So it says to add 1 1/4 cup of frozen cranberries to your jar. Again, I have a hot jar here because we are going to be adding hot water into it, and I don't want that temperature difference. Also, we have hot water in our water bath canner, so you want to use a hot jar. I'm using a 1/4 cup scoop, that's why I'm doing it so many times in here. So that's about what you want for cranberries. that's how many cranberries I have left, so I'm definitely going to be able to get at least another 7 quart jars. And this recipe is for canning quart jars. I don't know if you could can it in pint jars, and I don't necessarily know if you'd want to. I like doing it in quart size because this is enough juice that we can get for usually like a meal or maybe 2 meals. I do dilute this juice though because it is pretty concentrated. You do have to let it sit for 6 weeks just to kind of get everything meshed together before you can drink it. You can leave this like this, just put water in it and then call it good. But what I'm gonna do, and what I did in my other ones, is I do add a tad bit of sugar to it because I do like it to be a little bit more sweeter and not so tart. So last batch I added a 1/4 cup of sugar to each jar, and that seemed to be a good sweetness level for us. So that is what I'm gonna add to each one of these jars. And I'm just using a organic evaporated cane sugar. But again, if you just want plain cranberry juice, you can definitely omit the sugar. You do not need to put this amount. It is sugar to taste. Okay, so we have our water over here. It wasn't quite boiling, but it was definitely hot water. I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. I'm trying to decide if I want to ladle it or use a measuring cup. So we'll start with this and see how that works. And so we're gonna fill them up until there is, what do we need here? A 1/4 inch headspace in each jar. I need to go and take the lid off of my pressure canner. Set the timer for 10 more minutes before I can take them out. So these cranberries like to pop up. I try to just kind of keep them down as much as possible. I have to get some more water warmed up here. And then I'm just gonna use some vinegar, and we're gonna clean the rims and then just put a lid on it. And then we'll get them put into this hot water. Okay, I'm gonna have to get some more water boiling. We have all of the jars in here now. I'm gonna turn the heat back up to about an 8. I'm just taking some of the water out of here because you have to have an inch covering the jars, and there was a lot more water in here. And what's gonna happen as soon as it starts to boil, it's gonna spill over everywhere. So I'm just taking a little bit of the water out to make sure I do have the inch of headspace, but not gonna make a mess for myself. So put the lid on that. Once they come to a boil, we will start the timer for 25 minutes. I'm gonna put these back in the freezer, and then we'll get them out when we do our second batch. So I wanted to show you guys, in the last video I was talking about dehydrating some organ meat, and I'm going to be making some pills with it. This is what it looks like. I just had it in the freezer. So my pill capsule maker thing should be here today. The shipment said it's being sent out for delivery. So if I have time today, I will show you how I'm going to make those capsules with these. I still have to do a little bit more research on how many capsules it's safe per day to take. I think I remember reading that 3 capsules per day is good, but again, I want to double check to what's good for my body. So again, research. You all have to do your own research. So I am gonna get this boiling for 25 minutes. The other thing I wanna actually get done today is I would really like to get some peanut butter cookie dough in the freezer. So we're not gonna actually, well, we might actually make 1 tray of them, but I'm trying to get some in the freezer just so that I can just take them out and just have them available. I already have some chocolate chip ones in there, some ginger snaps, and I have another kind. I can't remember what other one I have in there, but I like to have those in the freezer just again as a freezer meal if we are craving something. So today is all about, I guess, getting little jobs done, like the other video, little jobs done. So we'll go wait for this to come to a boil. We're gonna get these peanut butter cookies started. This is a new recipe for me, so I don't know how it tastes. This is gonna be an experiment for this recipe. Now, I'm already deviating away from the recipe because it called for softened butter. I don't have room temperature butter, so I put the butter in the microwave, and what happens is it melted. So we're gonna use some melted butter instead of softened butter, but the recipe says softened butter. So what we're gonna do is, because we're not cooking these cookies right away, we're gonna obviously omit the first part of the recipe, which just says to preheat your oven. I will, again, as always, leave the recipe linked for you guys below. Okay, so what we need to do is in a medium mixing bowl, it says that we need to put all the dry ingredients together in here. So we need to add 1 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour. It says 3/4 teaspoon of baking soda. My baking soda is really clumpy, so I'm just using this little sieve here. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. I think that's all the dry ingredients. Can't see what else there would be. Yep, that's all of, and then we're just gonna whisk it together. And it says to set that aside. And so then it says, in a bowl of an electric stand mixer fitted with the paddle attachment, cream together the butter, the sugar, until it is combined. So we're using 1 stick of butter. Again, you'd want to use softened butter, but we're going to use melted. So we need 1/2 cup of white granulated sugar. I'm just going to use the evaporated cane sugar. And then we need 1/2 cup of packed light brown sugar. Okay, and then it says to cream it together. Okay, that's pretty good and creamed. Now we're gonna mix in 3/4 cup of peanut butter. It does say to use a smooth, creamy peanut butter, but I actually don't have any, so we're gonna use this stuff. It's crunchy. I'm sure it'll be fine. We'll just have extra peanut butter pieces in it. So it says that you gotta mix that peanut butter in. Okay, and now we need to blend in 1 egg and 1 1/2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. It's okay if we put a little bit more than 1 1/2. Then we need to cream this together. Then we are going to slowly mix in our dry ingredients. So it says with the blender on low speed to slowly add in the dry ingredients. I'm just gonna kind of do it bit by bit, because what happens with my particular blender is it just flies everywhere. So I like to add it just a little bit at a time. Actually, we'll just add it all in. That did not mean to add it all in, but that just happened, so we'll go with it. You want to mix it until it's just combined. So we're going to take our batter now, and we're just going to use a cookie scoop and then just put them on here. Now, it's a little bit dry of a batter, and it could be because we used the crunchy and not the smooth peanut butter. I'm not sure, but it tastes good. Okay, there we go. I am not concerned with the spacing on this because we are just freezing it. If I was cooking this, I obviously would not be putting them this close together, and I would actually be squishing them with a fork down if we were cooking this batch. But I'm just gonna put these in the freezer. Once they freeze in this shape, I will put them in a Ziploc baggie and label it, and leave the cooking directions on the bag so that if I or Stephen get it out, we know how to cook them. So into the freezer, these are gonna go. It is the next day now, and I do explain a little bit at the end of the video kind of how we got to the next day. A little bit of a fiasco yesterday. But anyways, I got my new capsule maker in the mail last night, and I thought I would give it a try this morning and make my organ meat capsules. It kind of was a little bit hard for me to get the idea of how to get the capsules put in here correctly. It does come with a really good picture diagram, but for some reason it doesn't explain it very well. But I finally got the hang of it. This is me just kind of putting the organ meat in and then just squishing it down. And I'm trying to figure out how to put the top capsules on. I didn't have it hooked up the right way, but once I finally figured it out, it worked really, really good, and I'm super pleased with it. Now, I did purchase this on Etsy, so unfortunately I can't leave a link for you guys on where I got it, but I am super happy to have the organ meat capsules now that I can just easily take. So it is the next day, and yesterday was crazy. So I had my Azure pickup yesterday, and it was scheduled for 3 o'clock. Everybody went to the drop, and we were all sitting there, and by 4 o'clock, the driver still hadn't come. My drop coordinator just said to everybody, I've tried to get a hold of the driver, I've called Azure, the driver is MIA, we don't know where he is, because we were scheduled to be the first drop that day. So I started driving home. Now, my drop is about 35 minutes away from my house. So I started driving home, and about 10 minutes away from my house, I got an email from Azure Standard saying the driver is going to be there in 15 minutes. So I had to quickly come back home because I really needed to eat something. I hadn't eaten anything yesterday since the morning, so I was really hungry and I was starting to feel a little lightheaded. So I drove all the way back home, and by now it is about 4:30 and my drop was supposed to be at 3. So Stephen came with me, and we went and we picked up the stuff. So we didn't get home until about 5:30 yesterday. So I kind of left all of the canning stuff and just kind of left the house and went and did that stuff. So by the time I got home last night, I still needed to get supper ready, and so anyways, I did not get to turn the camera on and finish showing you guys what the cranberry juice was like. So this is what it looks like. I got 14 quarts full of cranberry juice. So those have to sit on the counter for about 6 weeks, and then after 6 weeks we can open them. And again, I usually end up diluting them a little bit because they are a little tart without the additional water in them. So we got that done, and I also included for you a little clip of me making the organ pills. It was quite the experience, but you will see by that clip that you just watched. Anyways, so I am going to get that cranberry juice put on the shelf, and I'm actually going to get my meat birds out for a little bit today, just so that they can get out for the very first day and just kind of explore the grass, because it is fairly warm and it is very humid. The humidity is back. I want to thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.